Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is a beautifully wild Wednesday, and I hope you are all having a fantastic week so far. Grab your coffee, your tea, or maybe something a little stronger because we have an absolute mountain of drama to unpack today. The latest episode of General Hospital just aired, and I am still trying to catch my breath from that ending. I am literally typing this at 2 in the morning because my brain is completely short-circuiting and I know I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I cannot believe they actually went there. I seriously cannot believe it. Jocelyn Jacks just crossed the line that she can never ever uncross. She just committed murder. Like actual cold-blooded fatal, there is no going back from this murder. I have been watching this show religiously since 2015. And I have seen some absolutely crazy character pivots over the years. But this is monumental. This changes the entire fabric of the canvas. I'm half celebrating because she finally fought back, and I am half complaining because the writers just fundamentally altered who she is as a human being. We need to talk about this right now. Let us back up for a second because my hands are legitimately shaking on the keyboard. We all knew Jocelyn was stuck down that dank, disgusting, terrifying Windermere sub-basement. The show has been dragging this captivity storyline out for what feels like an eternity, and I was starting to lose my patience with it. And we knew Pascal was down there with her. Pascal has been the absolute worst. He has been so incredibly smug, so arrogant, just pacing around her cell and taunting her about how utterly helpless she is. He really thought he had all the power. He looked at Jocelyn and just saw a spoiled, privileged girl who was completely out of her depth. But he forgot one crucial life-ending detail. He forgot who was held in that exact same cell before her. Anna Devane was held down there. And Anna, being the absolute legendary super spy that she is, left behind a makeshift weapon. The second Jocelyn found that Shiv, I knew something crazy was going to happen, but I never in a million years thought it would escalate to this level of violence. Am I the only one who thought she was just going to use it to threaten him, or maybe wound him enough to escape? I did not think she had it in her to deliver a fatal strike. I was so wrong. The atmosphere in that scene was just dripping with tension. The lighting was all dark and shadowy. And Pascal was laughing at her. He was literally laughing at her helplessness. And then Jocelyn pulled out Anna Devane's makeshift weapon. You guys, the entire energy in the room shifted so fast it gave me whiplash. The look on Pascal's face, his smug little smirk melted into pure unadulterated terror in a fraction of a second. He started trembling. He actually started shaking because he looked into her eyes and realized that Carly's daughter and Jason's unofficial protege was not playing games anymore. And because he's a coward at his core, Pascal immediately started singing like a canary. He just started spilling every single secret he's been holding on to, hoping it would buy his life. He confesses to her that Jen Sidwell is the one who killed Henry Dalton. We knew Sidwell was dirty, and we knew from Britt's phone call that Pascal helped cover it up. But hearing Pascal admit it out loud while staring down the barrel of a shiv was insane. But wait, it gets so much worse. Pascal does not stop there. Because he is panicking, he just keeps talking. He reveals that Sidwell is not just a murderer, but he is actively conspiring to frame Sonny for a massive federal crime. A federal felony. Sidwell's entire master plan is to get Sonny locked up in federal prison, so he can completely take over Sonny's territory in Port Charles. My jaw physically dropped. We have watched Sidwell calculate against Sonny for months, but a federal frame-up, that is next level villainy. Sonny has been dancing around the FBI for decades. And Sidwell is just going to hand him to them on a silver platter. And then, as if my blood pressure was not high enough, Pascal drops the Marco Rios bomb. He admits right there to Jocelyn that Ross Cullum was the one who pulled the trigger and killed Marco. And Pascal, he admits that he was the cleaner. He is the one who cleaned up the crime scene and covered Cullum's tracks. This is where my brain completely exploded because you have to think about the ripple effects here. Wait, I am getting ahead of myself. Let me take a breath. Okay, back to the point. Think about Lucas Jones. Sonny, Laura, and Lucas literally just formed a unified takedown team in this exact same episode. Their entire master plan relied on using Lucas's grief over Marco to break Pascal. They needed Pascal alive. They needed him to testify or flip on Sidwell. Lucas finally got a storyline after mourning in the background for months. And he was so ready to look Pascal in the eye and destroy him. And Jocelyn just ruined their entire plan. Because you cannot interrogate a corpse, I am so frustrated for Lucas right now. Remember when they tried this kind of revenge plot with Michael years ago and someone else got the kill? Yeah. didn't work then either, and it is so frustrating to watch a character get robbed of their closure. But I cannot even be that mad at Jocelyn because her psychology in this moment was absolutely brilliant. You could see the exact second her soul darkened. When Pascal mentioned framing Sonny and taking over Port Charles, something inside Jocelyn just snapped. She realized that this man and the people he works for are a direct lethal threat to her entire family. She is Carly's daughter. She was raised in the shadow of the mob. She has violence in her DNA, whether she wants to admit it or not. The instinct to protect her family kicked in, and it overrode every single moral boundary she has ever had. And then she lunged. She actually lunged at him, driven by this blinding rage and this desperate need to protect her loved ones. Jocelyn delivered a fatal stab. She struck him with Anna's weapon, and it was brutal. The show did not hold back at all. Pascal collapsed, and the visual of him dying in a pool of blood on the floor of that dark, damp Windermere basement is going to haunt me for weeks. I was screaming at my television. I could not believe my eyes. She killed him. Pascal is dead. Jocelyn Jacks is a murderer. I know some people are loving this. I know some fans are cheering because Jocelyn finally stopped being the victim and took control of her own survival. And part of me is cheering too because Pascal was a monster and he deserved what he got. But personally, I am terrified for her. This is not just a self-defense struggle where someone accidentally hits their head. She made a choice to strike a lethal blow. She crossed the ultimate line. Her soul is forever going to bear the scar of a killer. How do you come back from that? How do you go back to college classes and normal life when you have watched the life drain out of a man's eyes by your own hand? She is going to have severe PTSD from this. I can already predict the storyline, and I am honestly dreading the emotional toll it is going to take on her. She's going to have nightmares. She's going to push everyone away. And the worst part is the secret she is now carrying. She holds the absolute key to taking down Jen Sidwell. She knows about Henry Dalton. She knows about the federal frame-up against Sonny. She knows Ross Cullum killed Marco Rios. She holds all the cards that Sonny, Laura, and Lucas are desperately looking for. But how can she tell them? If she tells Sonny what she knows, she has to admit how she knows it. She has to confess to murder. And what is she going to do with the body? Is she just going to leave Pascal bleeding out in the sub-basement? What happens when Cassius comes down to check on them? Cassius is already unhinged. And if he walks in and finds Jocelyn standing over Pascal's dead body covered in blood, he might just shoot her on sight. The stakes have never been higher. I mean, seriously, guys, think about the conversations that are going to happen when Carly finds out. Carly has spent her entire life trying to keep her kids insulated from the darkest parts of the mob life, even while actively participating in it. She failed with Michael when he went to prison, and now she has failed with Jocelyn. Jocelyn is officially a product of her environment. Jason must be rolling in his grave, or wherever he is, knowing that the girl he swore to protect just had to slit a man's throat to survive. And what about Jen Sidwell? When Sidwell finds out his cleaner is dead, he is going to unleash hell on Port Charles. He is already furious about Tracy Brooklyn and Lucy trying to push him out of deception. He is already hunting down Britt and Rocco. Now his right-hand butler is dead. Sidwell is going to accelerate his timeline. If he was planning to frame Sonny for a federal crime next month, he is probably going to do it tomorrow. Sonny does not even know the FBI trap is being set. Sonny is busy plotting to use Pascal, completely unaware that Pascal is currently bleeding out on Spoon Island. The tragic irony of this entire situation is just peak General Hospital. The writers have been sitting on this Marco Rios murder mystery for months. They finally gave Lucas the spotlight. They finally gave him the motivation. And they literally set up a collision course between Lucas and Pascal. And then they swerved us. They swerved us so hard, my neck hurts. They gave the kill to Jocelyn. It is brilliant. It is frustrating. It is heartbreaking, and it is the soapiest thing they have done all year. I am just spinning with theories right now. Will Jocelyn try to clean up the crime scene herself? Will she use Pascal's phone to send a fake text to Sidwell to buy herself time? She is smart. But she is also in deep shock. You could see it in her eyes after he fell. The adrenaline left her body, and she just looked at her hands like she did not recognize them anymore. That is the tragedy of this show. Innocence never lasts in Port Charles. You either die a victim, or you live long enough to become the monster you are fighting. I cannot wait to see the fallout. I am dreading it, but I am also glued to my screen. The Corinthos Jacks family is about to face their darkest chapter yet, And Jen Sidwell has no idea that the variable he never calculated for wasn't Lucas Jones. It was a terrified, enraged Jocelyn Jacks with a homemade shiv. What an episode. I need a nap. But I know I am just going to be staring at the ceiling thinking about that pool of blood. Let me know what you guys think, because I desperately need to vent with people who understand this madness.